ability to understand how it works, to understand how it works.
Q-tape. Possibilities Network. And 3, 2, 1. Live from Indianapolis, Indiana, this is the iPad Possibilities Show. With your host, Tim Chapman. And co-host, Ryan Anderson.
Welcome to the iPad Possibilities Podcast, episode number 28. Possibilities become realities. Welcome. This is the iPad Possibilities Podcast. This is Tim and Ryan here. This is episode number 28. Possibilities become realities. And this show is sponsored by the It's On My Way podcast application in the App Store for $2.99. It's an app to help plan out your routes as you travel from place to place. And today we'll be talking, basically we're going back in time, when we were having some possibilities we thought of that might become realities one day. And now we're taking some of those ideas that are now realities thanks to some accessories and applications that are available in the App Store.
Very cool. Like what?
Well, we'll begin to it later, but through the VGA adapter and the camera connection kit, there's some things that aren't officially supported that have become realities, and we'll get into those a little bit later. But okay. I want to start this show with, well, first off, this Friday I'll be getting a 3G iPad, so I just wanted to say we're going to have some cool coverage next weekend with that coming in.
Okay, great.
I've got a micro SIM adapter, which will change that micro SIM into an iPhone-sized SIM card and see if it works inside an iPhone, and some other tests to see what happens. So that'll be coming up this weekend. And
Wait. You're going to take the mini SIM out of the iPad 3G, put it into a converter, put it in the iPhone, and see if you can make a phone call with it?
See if I get data out of it. See if I can use Safari on it. See if I can use Skype out of it. So we'll see how that goes. I should get that in this week sometime. I found it online, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm about ready to sell mine to someone internationally so I can get the 3G now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm running into situations where I'm like, God, I wish I had a MiFi or...
Yeah, exactly. I find I'm just taking it everywhere with me. It's surprising. I thought I'd leave it at home more. It's in the car. I just leave it there and grab it when I need it, and it's crazy.
I take it with me to work, and I use it at work I used to take my MacBook because it was the smallest computer I had.
Sure.
Now I just take the iPad. I don't even bother bringing my MacBook because I just used it to check personal email, keep up to date with what my wife's up to, and all that kind of stuff. So I find I'm taking it with me everywhere too.
Yeah. And I think the 3G is going to be incredible because for $15, you can get 215 megabytes. And I myself, I use 3G all the time when I'm on the road, and I rarely go above that.
I don't think anyone's going to buy that plan.
Well, I'm using it with I have a MiFi. I'm able to check my usage. And even with Skype calls and doing some pretty heavy usage, I mean, I'm not downloading a bunch of shows. That's when I go over. But if I'm not downloading audio shows, if I'm making Skype calls, I don't go above 250 megabytes, and I think a lot of people would be fine with that.
Wow, really? Okay.
It's impressed me. Like, I thought I used a bunch more.
No, I'm a downloading fool. I download apps from the App Store all the time. I'm always checking out new apps.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to be curious about is AT&T's had the stance, or they've said officially that we don't think it'll be a big seller. We don't think a lot of people will use the 3G. So I'm wondering if they'll restrict Netflix and those kinds of apps from using the 3G. So I'll be curious to see what they do with that.
Well, if they said that, I listen to a lot of other tech podcasts. I don't remember anyone saying that. But if they did, that would tend to make me think that they won't restrict anything because they don't think there'll be a lot of people using it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but for me, I've got a MiFi, so it won't matter that much. I know Netflix streams perfectly on the MiFi. It's no stutter, just it's fantastic. So I'm excited to get one built into the iPad, and it'll be cool to see what the adapter. I know this isn't officially supported. This isn't something I would recommend long term, just because it's not the right thing to do. All that, but it'll be interesting to see if with that adapter you can just take that micro SIM, use it in the iPad, use it in the iPhone, use it in a MiFi, based on whatever situation you're put in. So we'll be looking into that this weekend when those actually come in, and all of that. And I'll have a link in the show notes on the Friday show when I actually get in the adapter, and we'll tell you guys where to find that and if it is working with the iPad before you run out and buy it, because it is kind of expensive for what it is. It's $20 for a little piece of plastic. I mean,
What is it?
it was $20 for. I mean, it basically just turns the micro SIM into an iPhone size SIM card.
Oh my God! For
So
an
they're
adapter,
making a big
Jesus.
profit with it, but I needed it. I didn't want to fool around.
Who's making a big profit?
Whoever's making it, I would imagine.
Who's ever making it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a link in the Friday show next week. But I just want to mention 3G's coming, and we'll have more next week on that. And then,
And also, we're missing John. Give a shout out to John. We hope he's feeling better because he called in sick.
yeah. And this broadcast was a little bit late today because I'm here in Recital Hall, a sound booth, actually. I got a work mess up where I actually got on schedule when I shouldn't have been. So we got off to a little bit late start. Moving on with, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the iPhone leak with Gizmodo and all that, but I wanted to talk very briefly on a feature that was seen in there, and I think it's kind of interesting because I think it's what they've been doing with the iPhone and iPod Touch all along is they've been kind of beta testing things out for the iPad before it goes on there to make sure it works all right.
I agree.
I think yeah, I mean, that's, I think, one of the reasons why we're getting OS 4 in the fall. It might just be they wanted the beta tested on the iPhone first. And one feature, the front-facing camera, I think they're going to test this out with the new iPhone, and then the next generation, the iPad, it'll be perfect and ready to go.
Well, there's so much room in the iPad after we saw those teardowns, and I wasn't on the show last week, so and you guys focused on Omni Group stuff, but
Yep, we did.
There's enough room in the iPad for a kitchen sink.
Yeah.
I mean, they could put a lot of stuff on there, and it really is too bad that the iPhone OS and the way Apple is. That they're just not SD card friendly, because it would save so many people so much time, and I think they would sell probably twice as many devices if they had a SD slot on there.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about that. They've got adapters that work, and I'm fine with doing that.
Yeah, but that's hokey. I'm almost surprised that Jobs would even go that route with, we'll just give them a bunch of different adapters. Well, granted, they make buku bucks every time they change a design because
Right.
You have to buy a new dock. Like if this iPhone that we saw, at Gizmodo is the new iPhone, the 3G docks and the 1G docks aren't going to work, and you have to buy another one.
I mean, yeah, I still have my original iPhone, so I keep those docks. I mean, I have a kind of a collection now. But yeah, they do make money on a lot of accessories, and that's just the business Apple's in. I do like the fact that since everything works through a dock connector, that a lot of the things just work on all the models. Some don't, some do. It's a nice... I like it.
Well, I'm not saying I dislike the port that's on there. I do like the port that's on there, and it's pretty friendly with all the other Apple stuff. But having look how long it took for them to put a SD slot on a Mac, on the MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
So, and they do that actually they did that on the Pro because they got rid of the Express slot, right? So they figured, we better give these camera guys and these video guys who use our computer something. And I just think some of those same people who are buying iPads would appreciate what it would be cool. And this is something I was thinking about last week, listening to last week's show, but is these people who do some of these mods, I'd like to see some hardware mods where someone could hardware mod and put a SD card on an iPad, because there's room to do it.
Yeah, I'll be excited to see. They mentioned the jailbreak's going to come out when the 3G ships. So I'm going to be excited to see what jailbreak community will be able to do with that camera connection kit USB port. I'm curious what they'll be able to open up with that, because with a jailbreak you have free for all access to that, right?
Right. Well, and when they first started talking about the camera connection kit, and then you and I were talking about it via email or whatever last week, I didn't realize the camera connection kit was also USB.
Oh yeah, you get two. I'm impressed they give you both. You don't have to buy $29 each dongle. You get both of them for $29. So I've got mine coming in May 15th or something around there. I just ordered it a couple days ago, and I might pick up one in the Apple Store if they come in sooner and cancel my online order.
Did they just become available?
They've been available for a while for pre-order or whatever, and they just started shipping out, so people have had their hands on them for a few days now. For some reason, I didn't order one. So I just ordered one now, and hopefully this Friday they'll have them when the 3G models come in the stores. They'll have the camera connection kits there too.
Well, since we talked about the iPhone, just real quick, did any drool fall out of your mouth over the new MacBook line?
They're nice. It's a nice speed improvement. The 10-hour battery is very interesting for the 13-inch. I'll be honest with you. I see myself hanging on to just a Mac Mini or an iMac as my desktop, and then using the iPad for everything mobile.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the things coming out that we'll talk to later about podcasting mobily with a really nice mic via that camera connection kit.
Right.
So I think the iPad will be my mobile machine. Then I'll have the Mac Mini or iMac as my. So I think laptops are going away.
What?
I think laptops are going away for a lot of people in the near future.
Wow, really? I think it'll be a while.
Neil Laporte mentioned he doesn't use his laptop. He uses his iPad and the desktops. And I think a lot of people will start to see that and do that.
Well, okay. Here, let's take my route would be I have pretty much replaced desktops at home with laptops.
Oh, wow.
I don't use desktop computers. I mean, the laptops today for what I do, which is programming, some graphics work, some video work, and a lot of audio stuff for these podcasts that I do. Yeah. The laptops are more than powerful enough. Now, granted, I have some of the most powerful laptops you can get. I have a Core i7 HP with 6 megs of memory. I have my MacBook. I have a white MacBook. It's 2 years old. It's a 2.4 dual core with 4 gigs of memory. The thing works great. I would love to have the newer model with the better video card. Yeah. But I don't necessarily need an i7. Matter of fact, if you buy the 13-inch, you still get a dual core. Yeah. So I don't know. I've replaced my desktops with laptops, and then going that route, I could see myself replacing something like my small MacBook, 13-inch MacBook with the iPad for when I'm on the road. Yeah. So I will agree with you on that point.
I've just seen myself as I sold my MacBook Pro, the 17-inch, for the Mac Mini, and the form factor of the Mac Mini is so much smaller, so much faster. You get more ports, more all of that, and you get a larger display for. I mean, I was using it as a desktop, and it was out of place. So I think a lot of people will start doing that.
It was out of place because of its size?
I was using it as a home entertainment system, a server, and all those kind of things. It's perfect for the Mac Mini does, because I could eventually move that to my family room if I wanted to use that as a home theater system over there.
Well, right, and a lot of people do that, but I think I'm going to have to. When I hear about all those different things, not that this is a Mac show, we're kind of getting off topic.
Yeah, we are getting way off topic here.
I think I might stick with Windows Media Center as far as that goes.
Yeah. And also the Mac Mini, I'm not afraid I'm going to break it. I was afraid as I move around a bunch, I'm afraid I'm going to destroy that 17-inch laptop in a drop or something. It's out of warranty now, so I don't know. I think a lot of people will go that route, but I think we should move on.
All right, back on the iPad.
Yeah, the iPod Touch also made its way to eBay for a few hours with a camera in it, evidently.
Really?
Yeah, there was a few hours. It was on sale. It's rumored it's the next generation. It might have just been a prototype that may not even come. I think they'll have a camera in the next one, but I'm not sure. But that'll be interesting to see if that makes its way, which would make my belief that the iPad might get one as well sometime in the future. Not sure when.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying the iPod Touch. I got the latest generation, the third gen, just a few weeks ago because I've got the original iPhones, the second gen, the Edge phone, and the 3G phone, and both of those, it's going from the iPad to one of those. It's so slow. Yeah, I picked up one of those, the 3G, for a really good price of the iPod Touch, and I'm loving it. I love the thinness and all of that. It's super fast as well. Let's get away from the iPod Touches and the iPhones and Macs and move on to iPad stuff.
All right, what's next?
Well, I want to share a crazy, I call this the crazy encounter of the week. And so I use my iPad in the car as a music player because the speaker on it is very good, and I use Pandora with it since I have the MiFi. And as I was at a traffic light earlier this week, changing the station or song or whatnot, the driver next to me honked his horn, and I looked over and rolled out my window. He yelled out, "Hey, is that an iPad?" And it's like, "How is it?" It's like, it was the most crazy, bizarre thing. It's like, yeah, I love it, and then the light turned green. It was very bizarre.
Well, it is bizarre. At least you weren't texting on it or something.
No.
But you mentioned it as a great media player, and I'll tell you, I actually, because I'm taking it to work, and it's sitting there in the Apple case, on the portrait, or not the portrait, but the landscape.
Just sitting right in front of you there?
Sitting right next to my laptop, because I even use the laptop at work. I don't use a desktop at work either.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's it's a super powerful Dell laptop. So,
yeah.
And I have an extra monitor. These graphics cards on these things support multiple monitors. So
sure, yeah.
Anyway, I'm sitting there listening to my music. I find the interface on the iPad, although beautiful for the iPod feature of the iPad, I find it a little cumbersome to use.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think the media controls are a little too small. They're at the top. I really don't like the way Apple put all the controls at the top. The way I use the iPad, I would much rather have those controls at the bottom. Like the forward, the backwards, forwards, and all that stuff in Safari.
Yeah.
And the media controls at the bottom, because I'm having to reach over the top of the iPad, and if I drag my thumb accidentally, I hit something, change to music, or I also could not figure out how to shuffle my music. On the iPhone, you just say you're in all songs. Well, yeah, you could shake it, or you're in all songs, and you just kind of pull down. If you're at the top at A, if you pull down, you can hit shuffle.
Right.
And shuffle everything. Well, you can't do that on the iPad. The only place I could find shuffle was you play a song, you hit the album artwork, and it zooms in. Right. And then you touch the screen to bring up the controls.
Yep.
And then there's the the mix button, the shuffle button. And then it was only shuffling on that album. So they still have some work to do on the interface.
Yeah, it's version 1 of that app, and I think iWork version 2 is going to be very exciting when they do that. I'm finding myself, Pandora, I had it installed on my iPhone before, but never really used it. And then as I had the iPad and as I was working on my Mac Mini, I just opened it up, and I now use Pandora on a daily basis because of the iPad. It's crazy. I mean, it's fantastic.
Now, I've never even downloaded Pandora. I listen to the music I listen to, and I just don't listen to the music that much. I listen to podcasts.
Yeah, sure. I was in the situation where I accidentally deleted all my music off my iPad when I was syncing over video and had no music on there. So Pandora's been great. It's been playing a lot of the artists and things I like. But yeah, I mean, let's move on to. I had another cool little thing. I'm not sure if you've had any crazy interactions like that before.
No, not since getting the very first iPhone. I have people stop by my office at work, go, "Oh, can I see the iPad?" That's about it. No, yeah, I'm just getting, which is great because I don't have a bunch of people bugging me. I can pretty much sit down with it and use it. But now I haven't been sitting at a coffee shop with it or anywhere out publicly, mainly because I'm so busy. I'm either here working on stuff or at work working on stuff.
Well, another
I wanted to share another interaction I had with a young child. She's 1.5 years old, and I was over at a friend's house, and I had my iPad out, and I had Safari open. And I showed her how I was just pinching and scrolling around the page, and then she started doing that, and she had just a lot of fun doing that. And then she left for a little while and came back. I had Magic Piano opened and just started showing her if you touch it, it'll play. And she got really into it. She was playing the Magic Piano and left for a few minutes and came right back when she was pounding on the iPad screen expecting sound to come out. So I launched the app again, and I think it's interesting. She's not even 2 years old, and she can start interacting with this piece of technology that is just like another toy to her, right? It was a fun experience.
Yeah, I mean, kids adapt to it so quickly. I mean, well, my son already had an iPod Touch, but then he likes the piano stuff too. So we were doing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, the Magic Piano especially is so... It's perfect for little kids because you don't need to hit the right notes because there are no right notes, and it's just a big blank screen that you just pound away at, and it's a lot of fun for even adults and kids alike.
All right.
But
cool.
Yeah, that was just a cool interaction I wanted to share. That I mean, it's fun watching little kids play with technology, and I've never seen that before.
Oh, I actually have it when we get to apps of the week or picks of the week or whatever. I actually have one that I found that I didn't hear off another podcast. This is a Ryan original.
Awesome. Well, after that, I wanted to go over what I call the cool new use case of the week. And we won't have this every week, but I saw in the unofficial Apple web blog, they got this from 9 to 5 Mac, that Fox 31 in Georgia, they have a TV station that bought all of their news anchors' iPads. They worked it out. I'm just going to read the article really quickly. Someone at the Fox affiliate in Albany, Georgia, had this insight that the iPad looks like a pad of paper, right? So this insight, they estimate, will save the company $9,600 per year by just switching to the iPad instead of printing off thousands of sheets of paper, using ink and paper doing that. And they believe within 4 months, the iPads will have paid for themselves, and they're going to spread the word to other Fox stations if this does work. And I thought that was just a really cool use case of ways that companies are now seeing ways to get rid of paper and ways that we can do this better because of this device.
I hope it works for them.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's pretty
Know.
incredible. I mean,
we use a lot of paperwork. I don't, and I never hear about how much paper we use. So,
yeah, I mean that's all there though. I mean, right? It's a new mindset, I guess, getting rid of away from paper.
Yeah, I can see they probably do go through a lot for every anchor, for every newscast, every day.
Yeah.
So
morning, night, all that. Yeah.
Guess they haven't heard of a teleprompter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'm wondering, they could probably have iPad teleprompters that just scroll through stuff. And I think that might be kind of cool. Well, I want to get to the main content now. We've been kind of talking about iPhones and iPads and all that, but I want to talk about the possibilities we talked about earlier turning into realities. And the first one is through the camera connection kit. And those started arriving in people's hands a few days ago this week. And the one I want to talk about is that USB port for the iPad. It becomes the sanctified USB port that can work with some devices that aren't cameras. And the really interesting one is audio interfaces through this USB port. Basically, what you're able to do now is hook up anything that on the Mac that you don't need a driver for, like USB microphones and some mixer boards that work with Griffin's iMic. The iMic just receives analog audio and turns that into USB. And I've had reports from Victor Kakiao of the typical Mac user that he's able to use one of his mixers with the iPad now and hook up really good mics to that and do a whole episode on the iPad that way. Is that pretty crazy? Pretty amazing?
Yeah, it is. And wow.
I'm very excited because I can now use my really nice, USB mic, the Blue Yeti, on the iPad. And I'm just waiting for some app developers to get on with it and make a GarageBand alternative for the iPad, because that's something that's severely missing from the iPad. I've been looking around. I saw Caster, but that was not the best app from what I played with on their free demo. And I'm looking for something that can do some powerful podcasting.
Well, I don't know. It's been stated over and over again, and I'm sure most of our listeners listen to a lot of other tech podcasts, but I think it's been coming down to the device is a consumption device, not so much a creation device. And I know there's developers out there and users who are pushing for more content creation on it because they feel they can do it. But if it can record decent audio, which we already know the iPhone can, using this USB port, I mean, that might be good enough. And then you bring it back to your Mac to do the editing. I don't know if I'd want to do, I could do a show on the iPad, but I don't know if I want to edit the show on the iPad.
I think it wouldn't be a bad experience. Quite honestly, if the app was good enough, I think it would work.
You would need quite an interface. I mean, because remember, they made that big stink when iPhone 4GS came out. Oh, you can do video on it. Well, that's great. And you can edit video on it. Well,
Screen
it's very...
sizes, yeah.
Well, and it's hard to move that little... I like the way they implemented it. I just think it's very hard to get... it's only for super quick edits.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to videotape something, I'm going to bring it back to the Mac and do it in, Final Cut Pro or... Final Cut Express or iPhoto or iMovie or something.
Right, sure. Yeah,
but it's still a neat use case that you can hook that up. But what about other devices?
Such as
like printers.
Oh,
Everyone's
Well, let's think about that.
Printers.
I'm not sure entirely what it appears anything that does not need a driver on the Mac is working with the iPad. Now, not everything. But USB keyboards that are low power have been working with the iPad through this USB connector. And I'm curious what other devices out there don't require drivers on the Mac. Can you think of any others besides those two?
Well, even keyboards, a lot of keyboards need drivers, but I guess on the Mac, no, they don't. Offhand, I can't think of cameras, which it's already a camera connection kit.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be weird if you could plug a mouse in?
That would be weird. I was also thinking about, webcams. A lot of webcams don't need drivers.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll ever find this out if this works because there's no apps that would give you the ability on the iPad to see if it's working or not, to my knowledge.
Well, you may be able to use an iPhone app, but the problem is in the SDK when you're developing for it, you're supposed to – there's a function that you use to say, does this capability exist on this device?
Yeah, I noticed one of those with the TomTom app. I have the iPod Touch and on MiFi. I was trying to buy the live traffic update, and they disabled that for the iPod Touch because they just assume you don't have internet on the road with an iPod Touch.
Exactly.
That was so annoying.
Yeah, it is annoying, but that's what Apple wants you to do.
Yeah, they do.
And you need to check for those things. So you check, oh, it's an iPad, and we know it doesn't have a camera, so we're not going to enable this feature. Now that it's this device, this adapter is available, someone could write an app if Apple lets it in the App Store, where you could say, okay, I'll go ahead and see if there is a camera, but I don't know if the SDK is going to look to the USB port or to the – what does Apple call that port?
It's the dock. It's a 30-pin dock connector. It's basically a USB port done with 30
but I thought
pins.
they called it something else. I heard someone say like it was the iEverything port or the universal
– the dock connector. I'm not
universal.
sure if there's an official name for it.
Yeah, the universal dock connector is what they call it.
Yeah.
But as far as like printing, with everyone complaining about printing, yeah, almost every I don't know of a printer that'll work without a driver.
Right, everyone does.
But if somebody could write an app
that has those drivers inside.
Well, not necessarily the drivers, Well, I guess it would need some kind of driver, which means something special. But
Yeah.
if I don't know, a lot of these printers can handle certain um, what do they call it? Whatever language that these printers read in. Where
Sure.
you dump out your document into what is it, PostScript?
I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can just dump it out to the USB port in PostScript and see if the printer will at least take it.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
and,
that's all I can think of. That the ones you brought up.
Yeah, and scanners, I'm not sure. I mean, image capture, it's got built-in support for certain scanners. I'd be curious to see if those work. They're probably kind of high power for those that I guess they require external power sources. So,
Well, I'm
I'll
sure
test
once
that
it
out.
comes out and the developers start messing around with it.
We might
I mean,
find
if
more uses for it.
Yeah, if the SDK makes it look like a USB port, like it does on the Mac, I mean, right? The iPhone OS is a subset of the Mac OS.
Right.
So if that feature's in there somewhere, then we'll see developers start messing around with it.
Yeah.
Hey, we may even see where you have your iPhone and your iPad. You could plug your iPhone in using the cable into the USB port on the iPad.
You can. That's one thing that we found out. You can plug in an iPhone, and it will recognize that as a camera for the iPad and start importing your photos. So that actually does work. And
But
video
it won't
that way too,
let you
right?
do a live picture capture.
No, it would just be for as it recognizes as a camera, and with a 3GS, grab videos too that way.
Well, see, then that's where I see developers right now saying, okay, plug your, instead of camera A, camera B over Wi-Fi, you could just plug your iPhone into the iPad and use it
Yeah.
as a remote camera.
That's an interesting scenario, though, because on the Mac, when you plug your iPhone in, it's recognized as a camera by image capture, by iPhoto. Then only iTunes really recognizes it as something else than that. So I think by default, the Mac recognizes the iPhone as just a camera, right?
Right. Well, no, it recognizes it on the Mac and the PC. It just recognizes it as like a media card that it needs to pull the images off of.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's my experience with it. It doesn't recognize it as like a webcam or anything where it'll,
Sure.
I would think you'll need an application. A developer's going to have to write an application that
Yeah.
utilizes it.
Yeah, I'm still kind of underwhelmed by the apps that are out there. I mean, there's a lot of fantastic apps, but I think we're still waiting for wave 2 of the apps that developers have had a chance to run on their iPads and get a feel for and really blow us away. I think this first set of apps they're nice, but something more is coming.
Well, when we get to the app section, I got something we can talk about.
Okay, awesome. And if you want more information on kind of recording shows on the iPad and all that, I talked about this in episode, I think this was a live show, so episode 7, the Padcaster was one we talked about. And with this USB hookup, you could really record a decent sounding show, even with, Google Voice recording everything and all that. So check out episode 7 if you want some more information on that. And I'd like to move on to the VGA adapter. And this relates back to episode 16, the living room pad. That was a studio show with me talking about using the iPad in the family room as your media consumption device, your home theater system, or whatever you want to call it. And through the VGA adapter, developers are now able to display content to a big screen TV or a projector or something like that. My pick of the week is actually related to this, so I'll talk about that later. I don't want to give it away right now. But some apps I noticed that do work with the VGA adapter already are the first one that caught my eye was TwitPad. So Leo Laporte's app for the iPad. If you hook it up to a VGA adapter, it'll display that video out to your TV or whatever through that mechanism, which is I think it's pretty cool. I've used it before when I watch his video shows and all that. But the more intriguing one to me is Air Video, right? I actually emailed the developers and asked them about this VGA output, and they actually told me they're working on an update that'll support that. So this is a huge one for me, because what this means is for those that don't own an Apple TV, the iPad could, in a way, become that Apple TV. Because Air Video, it'll pull content from your Mac wirelessly and stream it to your iPad.
Or a Windows machine.
Or a Windows machine, and I'm not sure if Linux is supported. But
no, it's just if you go to their website, it's just Mac and Windows servers.
Yeah,
but the server's free. All you have to do is buy the iPad or iPhone app,
yeah,
and I love Air Video.
It's like $3 to $5. I forget exactly what it costs. But yeah, even a Windows machine. So pretty much any machine you have lying around the house, you can use that as your media hub. And then what this means is you can just have the iPad connected to your TV, do some fancy wiring to hide it or whatever, and just select which videos you want to watch, and then it's up on your TV. And I think this is phenomenal because a lot of people, I think, in the future won't need TV subscriptions. Hulu might add support when they have their app to do VGA out. Netflix might do the same. That'll be interesting to see who all jumps on that bandwagon of displaying content through that adapter.
Yeah, I haven't bought one yet, and I have, a big plasma flat screen hanging on the wall. So I'm not sure what the output's going to be. What is the output?
It's just a VGA output, and it looks really good. I used it on a 24-inch high-res display or whatever, and it looks really good.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a big possibility for using it as a family room, just media pad, where you just gather around and share content that way.
Yeah, I would think if if you got family coming over, or you're at your family's get together, and you want to plug it in and share some photos or videos, that makes a lot of sense. I don't see me doing it at home because I plop down in front of the TV with the wife and use the iPad to check my email and play games while watching TV.
Well, in the future of where families had their second gen and third gen iPads, extra iPads just lying around the house, and we'll have one dedicated to that. Perhaps
has anyone come out with a remote to control the iPad, not the iPad control something else?
I'm not even sure. Is that possible?
Well, think about the iPhone. You put the iPhone in the dock. You buy that. There's a dock with a remote that you can buy from Apple for $50.
Oh, right. I got you. I'm not sure. I've not seen that yet.
Yeah, and you can do video out and control the video, fast forward, and but I guess you can't do that on the iPad. There's no
never
dock.
Tried, I don't think the dock works with that.
Well, the dock doesn't have IR input.
Okay, yeah.
The one I haven't even used my dock since I bought it. I tried it once, and it's been in the case ever since.
Yeah, I'm using the iPad case as kind of the dock. I just have that in it all the time. And I'm actually finding the Apple case is getting better as far as taking it in and out. As I've done it more and more, it loosens up a little bit, so it's not as bad as I thought it once was.
I've taken mine out once.
Yeah. But as I get my second iPad this week, I'll have this Wi-Fi one in the dock a lot, so I'll actually start using that dock finally, since I'll have two iPads.
Oh, you're not returning the other one?
I thought about it, and I ended up having enough money to do both for some odd reason, and I saw a use case where I could have two, and so...
One of those international guys is weeping. They thought you were going to sell it.
Yeah, it's like I was looking on eBay, and the prices for a 16-gigabyte iPad were not going that high if it was open, because there's a lot of unopened ones.
Well, they aren't. I've been watching too, Tim, and they're not going that high even if they're sealed.
Yeah, and I've also been
they're only going for about $100 more.
Yeah, I was looking at the 64-gigabyte 3G unopened pre-order eBay ones, and it's kind of hit or miss. There's some for $900, some for $1,200. So I was thinking about selling my first one there, and then making money from that. And
yeah, it's almost more. To be quite honest, there's so many iPads on there for sale.
Yeah.
Especially with the international orders being pushed back.
Right.
The U.S. people trying to sell these internationally, and I think because there's so many, you've got to really need to get rid of your iPad, I think, to sell it, because otherwise I find using eBay a hassle. So
yeah, and I was planning on returning the Wi-Fi model, but as that return date crept up, I found a need for it for another week, and I think it'd be kind of cool to have too. I mean, one that's just always by your computer that you can have. And then,
Well, that is quite a luxury. I had my wife saying, "Are you sure you need that thing?"
yeah, and I think it'd be cool to have your piano app, and then you got your sheet music on the other iPad. Or
Well, see, you're a music student, and it makes sense for you.
So I could definitely see one. I mean, for productivity uses, you have one to create content, one to display content.
Tim.
So
Stop.
Sorry.
You're just gonna make me want to go buy another one, and my wife's gonna be so pissed.
So you're working on a paper, right? I mean, you have one to show you your Wikipedia entry, and then one for the pages.
You're crazy. You're iPad loopy.
Yeah, but I was actually looking into case makers to see if anybody made yet a dual iPad case that you just opened up and you have two iPads there.
Well, there you go, Tim. Two iPads. You have the dock connector. You need to be able to hook them up. USB to USB and sync the display so it can work like that Microsoft thing.
Oh, that'd be awesome, yeah. Oh, the courier. Yeah, the Apple courier. Just get two iPads and get a case for them.
There you go. You just fold it open. You got.
There's a jailbreak opportunity right there.
Yeah.
So let's see. Got a little bit off track with the dual iPad discussion, but I think it's an interesting one, and I think in a few years that'll be a situation where people will have more than one as they buy second, third, fourth iPads, and
yeah, and then we can get the first ones on eBay cheap, and I can have one in the bathroom and one in the car and whatnot.
Oh yeah, just have it mounted there all the time. That's one thing I've been used to using the iPad in a way where I don't care about battery life. And with the iPod Touch, I'm finding it just dies within 3 hours of use, and it's really obnoxious as I've been accustomed to this insanely good battery.
Yeah, and the iPad's battery is just amazing. I finally, actually yesterday, I was using it off and on all day, and I got it to the lowest charge point I have gotten it to since I bought it, and that was like 28%.
Wow. Yeah, the lowest I've gotten is, I think it was 21%, and that was with me using it over 24 hours, I believe, on and off.
Wow.
It wasn't straight use, but it was turned on all day, and I was playing games, watching video, and, surfing the web and doing stuff like that. And I didn't charge it for 24 hours, and it was still up and running with 20% or something like that. And that means I still had a good 2 to 3 hours left of good usage.
Okay. When you want to roll into some picks?
Sure. First, I wanted to talk about kind of wrapping up the MediaPad discussion. Boxy's actually started looking for developers to hire and are working on an iPad app. So
really?
Yeah,
okay.
that should bring even more content to the iPad. Perhaps that's the way we
I
get
like
Hulu.
Boxy. I don't have one here, but I have a friend that has one, and I've been itching to get one, but I haven't done it yet.
They have a Boxy box that just came out, I think, or is shipping soon.
No, there's I thought you could get the software.
You can.
Right.
Yeah, I've got the software on my Mac and all that, but that should be fun when the iPad version comes out, because that's a lot of content that you'll have access to through that. So I just wanted to mention that real quickly, and then move on to picks and all that. Did you want to start out with picks?
Yeah, I got a couple. A first one that I just found, I think it just came out. It's called it's either Ludlow or Ludlow, Luddo or Ludo. It's Ludo.
Okay.
And it's free, which is nice. And I didn't recognize the name, so I looked at it, I went into it, and it's basically a copy of. Oh, now I forget the name of the game. The game where you pop the thing in the middle and the dice changes and you move around the board. What is that called?
I'm looking it up on the App Store right now. Ludo board game?
Yeah. What is that game called? The real board game. Oh, my God. I had
have no
it.
idea. That looks totally unfamiliar to me.
Oh, you're
it's probably
kidding.
before my time. I don't know.
Well, there was a game. And we have it here. I have to go get. You pop the thing in the middle, and the dice rolls between 1 and 6, and then if you get a 6, you get out of jail, basically out of your starting gate, and you work your way around the board, and then you come back into your own color, and it's set up for 4 players, but you can play 2-player. It does it have AI? I don't think it has AI, meaning artificial intelligence.
Right. Yeah.
You have to have 2 players.
Okay.
But it's set up so if you have it sitting on the table, that the controls point to the right person as you go around. So, like when you tap and enter your name, the keyboard for the person to the left of you goes up in landscape mode, and the keyboard points the right way. All the information displays the right way for the person sitting on each side of the iPad, and then basically you play the game. And God, I can't remember what it's. Pop 'em. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, I've never heard of this game.
No, this game is I think it's a Milton Bradley game that's been around for a really long time, and it's probably why it's free, because he probably would get sued. But it works just like that game, which I can't remember the name of it, and it's pretty cool. Me and the wife played it, and it works just like the real game.
Very cool.
Especially for free.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any other app picks? I've never heard of that one, so that's awesome. I'm going to start playing.
My other app pick is, well, if you look in the reviews, everybody's begging the guy to change the name of it. It's called The Pinball. Now, it's by Oprom. The guy has written pinballs for the iPhone since the beginning of the iPhone.
Sure.
He wrote the Wild West one, the Deep Sea one, and they were free on the iPhone, and they were very, very, probably the best pinball games on the iPhone. Well, he came out with the pinball. It's $2.99, and when I saw it, I was like, I'm going to buy it, no brainer, because I love this games on the iPhone, and they were free, so I want to support him. And the pinball has all 3 of his pinball games in here. Everything is upscale for the iPad, and it is just a blast playing it on the iPad.
What's it called? The Pinball? Is that the name?
The Pinball, and it's already a top grossing app, and it's number 1 in the App Store.
How much is it?
It's like $2.99.
Okay, I'll definitely pick that up.
It
cost me money.
It's awesome. So on the iPhone, you would play it in portrait mode, right? And you just use your thumbs. They don't.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, down the corner. And I don't think I ever tried rotating it on the iPhone. I'll have to try it.
Yeah.
But on the iPad, if you rotate it to portrait mode, it doesn't zoom around and follow the ball. Okay? It stays like you're sitting at the end of the game.
Sure.
Like real pinball machine, and it doesn't. And so it's really cool that he added that feature.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to follow a ball around a pinball. That would not.
No, but it does a really good job of doing it. I mean, it's not zoomed in directly on the ball.
Sure.
But, I mean, it follows it around as you play. And I've always liked, it made sense to do that on the iPhone because of the small screen.
Right.
But on the iPad, you don't really need to do it, although it looks really good. But if you don't like that, you just turn it to landscape mode, and you get to play it like a regular pinball machine. And the physics in the game is it's like playing a real pinball.
Are you able to tilt the table and stuff like that?
Yes, if you shake it too much, it will tilt.
Okay, very cool.
The games are amazing. I would have to say the Deep Sea one is probably my favorite, just because it's more than just a pinball game.
Yeah.
Meaning, there's basically little missions, so you have to get the ball to go down certain channels, knock out certain things, and you work your way up from, private or whatever it is in sea terms to captain or lieutenant or commander.
So you actually get 3 games in this one price?
You get 3 games so they're basically 99 cents a piece, $2.99. You get the Wild West pinball, which I really like, the Deep Sea, which I really like, and then this other one like Monkey Safari or something, it's nice because it's different. And I'm sure it'll be coming out with more. They're just awesome games.
Awesome. I've never heard of that, so it's 2 brand new ones for me. I've heard picks on other shows, and that's a repeat. I've already have those. I mean, they're great apps, but
now these are 2 that the Ludo I just found, and the pinball I'm sure a lot of people know about, but the iPad, as soon as I saw the iPad one, I didn't even look at the reviews. I just bought it.
Yeah.
Because I was familiar with the stuff. Another one, now this one I actually got from Steve over on
iPad show?
no, the Security Now with
right.
Diego. And he's a puzzle guy, and he talked about this app called Puzzle Maniac. And what's cool about Puzzle Maniac, it won't work in landscape mode. That's actually what's not cool about it. But in portrait mode, it's cool. And what's nice about it is it comes with it comes with 16 puzzle games for I think 99 cents. And they're the kind. The reason why Steve picked it was because it's not a time pressure game. It's just a laid back, relax, try to figure something out type game.
Sure.
It's really kind of neat. I would say of the 16 games, there's 4 in there that I really like playing. And it's like trying to connect try to connect these dots with so many bridges. So many lines between the dots, and they have numbers in the dots.
Yeah.
So you can only have 2 lines coming from this dot, 3 lines from this dot. There's another one where you have to untangle all the lines. There's a Minesweeper app one in here, peg jump. There's one that looks like a computer circuit board where you got to rotate all the tiles to get all the circuits to light up correctly. And it's just really neat. And every single game, you can start at like say a 6x6 play grid and work your way up to like a 24x24 play grid, and it gets really hard. But it's pretty nice. And there's you can play online too, play against people.
Very cool.
So.
Yeah, I've been playing online with Scrabble, for instance, through Facebook. That's something I never did on the iPhone, but I'm finding that I'm playing more and more online. I'm playing Wii Rule and those other online games. And
I out of everything on here, I'm in and out of Safari, Mail, and Wii Rule more than anything else right now.
Yeah, those 3 are in my dock. Yeah, it's the only game that made it to my dock because I'm in it just all the time. Harvesting.
I'm still waiting for a Dropbox update for the iPad.
Yeah, they need to do that. I've been using Goodreader to pull Dropbox information out.
Are you? Okay, I have Goodreader on here too, which is great for PDFs.
Sure.
So it's been a couple weeks. Do you have any picks?
Well, the first one I had is actually a hardware pick. Now, this pick I did not intend to actually get when I got it. I was in the Apple store getting a iPod Touch TomTom GPS unit because I wanted to start using TomTom since I already own the app for the iPhone. And I picked up the TomTom, and while I was there, I was just looking around what they had in the Apple store, and I saw on the very top shelf something called the Optima Pico PK101 Pocket Projector for iPhone and iPod. And what this is a very small, sort of iPod-sized projector that will display content through a dock to the projector, and it'll display other content too. But for this instance, I'm talking about the iPad. It does work with the iPad, and what you do is you hook it up through a dongle, and it just plays movies out of it, and it looks really good as long as it's completely dark. You have to have your expectations right because it is a very it needs to be completely dark for it to work well. But it's great for it was $200. It was which is very weird that I got it because it was a just impulse purchase almost. And it works great. It's the perfect thing for a college student because now in your dorm room you no longer have a small little TV or whatever. You now have for $200, your whole wall turns into a giant screen. So I now have a 60-inch screen that I can watch movies on, TV shows.
It's 60 inches?
Well, it depends on how big your wall is or how... I mean, I'm not sure exactly how large it is.
What could you realistically project with? I mean, the reason why you say it has to be real dark, I would imagine it's because the power of the light bulb.
Yeah, it's 10 lumens, and normal ones are, I think, 2,000 for the full-size ones. But
Right.
it says enlarges images up to 60 inches. So 60, I guess, is the max it's recommended at. And
Okay.
so it looks phenomenal when it's completely dark because there aren't many lumens, but when it's dark, it looks great.
Now, do you have to have the VGA adapter for it?
No, it comes with its own dongle that connects to your iPad, iPhone, iPod Touch, whatever it is.
Universal dock.
Yeah,
connect-
universal dock, and it connects to a input on that projector. And if you want sound output to speakers, it comes with a mono speaker, which is really pitiful. But you can hook it up to the headphone jack to export that sound to some big speakers. And it looks really well. It works really well. And there's some different models. That was their baseline for $200. And they just came out with...
they have other models that are like brighter?
Well, they just came out with one, the 301, I believe it's called. It's $400, and it's 50 lumens, and it's a little bit bigger. But it's said to be their brightest model yet, and it came out at CES this year. And I believe it's just started shipping. It's still pre-order on Amazon. But that looks like a much better model for if you need to play it in brighter content. And
A brighter environment.
Brighter environment, yeah. So this wouldn't work if you need to do a business presentation and with any light at all.
Now, does it have a fan on it?
It doesn't. It runs completely silent.
Okay.
It comes with 2 batteries. So battery lasts for around 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours. So you're able to swap those out.
You can't plug it in?
It doesn't charge while plugged in, which is very bizarre.
Oh, wait a minute.
You can plug it in to charge it, but as you're charging it, you can't display content at the same time as charging for some reason.
Oh, so you can only use it off battery.
Right.
Oh, that's weird.
That is weird, and it's a kind of inconvenience. And I got this with the Gorilla Pod. I actually picked one of those up. It works with those really well. And it's really cool because I can just hang that anywhere and start playing a movie. It's wild because I'm used to the projectors in school where they're this huge, big thing that, they're 200 pounds and it takes forever to set them up and get them ready. And now I've got this little pocket-sized projector that, it works really good for what it is.
Okay. Now, how does it work with the app? Do you have to use their app?
No. What it does is anything that works with the VGA output works with this app. So I was able to do the TwitPad with this app. I was able to do the built-in video app of, iPod or whatever with this app. So anything that I was able to do a keynote presentation with this app. So anything that supports VGA, it's recognized exactly the same.
So when Air Video gets updated, it should work.
Yes, which will be very cool because then when I move to an apartment, I can just have my Pico projector with Air Video and
basically you have an instant TV wherever.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
as long as you
cool.
have a white wall, it's good to go.
Or a beige wall.
A beige wall would work fine.
Light beige, right? Okay, well that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
how big is it, Tim?
Let's see. It's about the thickness of
2 iPhones.
2 iPhones, and about the length of an iPhone. It's
really?
a little bit less wide than an iPhone. About
and how do you focus it?
There is a focus knob on the device itself.
Okay.
It's pretty easy to focus. I watched Silence of the Lambs on it the other night, and that was a full screen movie, so I had the huge, big wall of just that movie, and it was a great experience.
Cool.
It's going cheap with getting a large screen, and it works really well. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, that was my big pick of the week. It links up to that discussion we had about using that VGA adapter with the media pad.
Right.
And let's see, any other picks? Let me just browse through here really quickly, see if there's anything else I thought was pretty cool. I did pick up Nova the other day. That's kind of a Halo type game for the iPad, and it's very enjoyable. I am finding with that app, I'm having to have it down on a table while I'm playing. So I'm finding holding the iPad while doing all the interface stuff, it gets really heavy after a long time with how you have to hold it. So I'm finding you have to put that on a table for it to really work well.
Man, we keep hearing how people complaining about it being heavy.
Well, it's only with that. iBooks is fine, but in Plants vs. Zombies was fine, but just for
Wait a
some
minute.
reason,
Are you telling me running Nova makes the iPad heavier?
no, just the way you have to interact with it. So you've got
Right.
a lot more interactions going. Either changing guns, you're controlling which
Also,
angle
you're finding
looking.
that you're holding it with one hand or swapping hands a lot.
Yeah, you have to hold it and then use your thumbs versus you're able to use all 10 fingers to interact with the.
Right. Okay.
So there's a lot more you're doing as far as interacting, which is why it makes it heavier with just. trying
Well,
to
I'm
do it.
seeing these great reviews on Wargate, and it's $4.99 massive multiplayer game that I haven't taken the plunge yet,
Yeah.
but I've been thinking about it.
And then my other pick of the week is Pro Keys. I'm not sure if you have this app.
No,
It's
I haven't.
it's another piano app. I know I have 3 piano
Oh,
apps.
okay.
I have Fun Piano, Pro Keys, and Magic Piano. And it was pretty wild. We actually used this in a performance. I used my iPad a few days ago in our last Composers Orchestra concert of the year.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was a piece on the death of the Newton and the rise of the iDevice is what it was called. So we actually had the Newton message pad and the E-Mate on stage doing their little scale that they play. You know, that's the Newton theme, right? So I used that Newton theme in the piece as the basis for all the notes we played. So, and then the third movement was the death of the iPad, or death of the Newton. It was the death of the Newton. And we actually had an E-Mate that I have a damaged E-Mate, and we actually smashed an E-Mate up on stage because it was already damaged and broken. So after that, we got to the iPad, and we had the iPhone on stage as well. We used Ocarina and Cosmovox and all that. Mm-hmm. But as we were rehearsing, we were talking about the LED 2000 instrument sounds a lot like the Blade Runner synths.
Not that.
This is it. And we were talking about that.
Blade Runner? That sounds like Close Encounters.
Yeah, but we were talking about that. And then the next day, literally, after rehearsal, they updated the application to include 2 new instruments. One is called mallets. Actually, 3. Mallets, accordion, and guess what the last instrument is?
Trombone.
It's a Blade Runner. They have an actual Blade Runner instrument.
Okay.
And it's pretty phenomenal. We were talking about this. It's like, what if they added that? It'd be so cool. So we use the Blade Runner instrument with the LED 2000 on top of it, and it's a phenomenal experience playing music on it. I could play, for 30 minutes to an hour just improvising on there with all those instruments they have now. And that's one of my favorite piano apps. Magic Piano is obviously one of my other favorites, but yeah. So those were my picks. I also, I'm not sure if we have time, I just want to mention Star Walk. I've had this for a little while, but I finally had the chance the other night to take it outside at night and test it with how well does this compass work with the iPad. When you basically what Star Walk is a astrology app where you're able to go outside and point it to the sky, and it'll tell you exactly what's up there, right? Where the moon's at, where Jupiter and Neptune are all at. And I tested this out with the moon to see if it was actually accurate. And to my pleasant surprise, it was. As I lifted it up, I saw where the moon was, and it was exactly where it was on the iPad, and it was pretty phenomenal.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. I'd recommend it. It was a lot of fun. I could see going out at night, just looking at the stars on a clear night, and just using that to see what everything is. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we close up the show?
Well, I was trying to find the name of that game, and I think it might be called Sorry.
Really? I've played Sorry
Except
before.
they're not showing what the board looks like on their website. How stupid is that?
That does look a lot like Sorry. As I'm looking at it now, yeah, that is Sorry, isn't it?
I think that is what it's called.
Yeah,
For
that's
some reason, I
Sorry.
was thinking it was called something else.
That's crazy.
And then the links on Hasbro's site don't even go anywhere. OpenDNS pops up saying, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so yeah, that's crazy. That's crap. That's Sorry.
I think that is Sorry.
That's awesome, and that was free.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
But it's not by them. That's why it's got a different
it's
name.
the same concept, same game, right? Yeah.
No, that'll do it for me. Cool. Fun show, Tim. We will talk to you soon.
If you want more information on this show is part of the Possibilities Network, and that's at thepossibilitiesnetwork.com. It's entire shows with a bunch of non-tech shows. We do have some other tech shows, but basically all the shows are based on shows of possibilities and potential is what it's all around about. So catch that there. And if you are listening to this as a recording, you can tune in with us every Sunday night and participate in the chat room, and some weeks call in if you'd like at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just go to possibilitiesnetwork.com, go to the iPad page, and you'll find it there. And feedback, I always love feedback. You can call in or send an email, and that really helps me to improve the show and kind of talk about things you want to get talked about and answer some of your questions and improve the show. So do that at 209-542-iPad and iPadPossibilities@gmail.com, and I'll answer any questions and play some of those on the show if you'd like that to happen. I can do that as well. And finally, you can also support this show, and if you'd like to do that, you can do that through iTunes by simply rating the show, reviewing the show, and subscribing. That'll help bring the visibility of this show in iTunes so other people can see it and listen to it as well. And also, another great way to support the show is by getting the iPad Possibilities podcast. That's in the App Store for $2.99. And with that app, you'll get the shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday rather than Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So you'll get the shows a full 24 hours in advance. And starting next week or the week after, I now have a really nice video camera, webcam, that I'll start shooting some iPad, tutorials on. So that will be app only for a little while. I'll start adding a premium version of this show, perhaps online. But for the first few weeks or month, that'll be for the app. Just video exclusive stuff right there on the app. So get that now for $2.99. And until Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how you get the show, this is Tim and Ryan with the iPad Possibilities Podcast.